So Highland Noise Podcast, I'm Shane.
I'm Glory.
It's a Throwback Thursday, recorded on a Thursday, posted on a Monday. Yay.
Yay.
Not to spoil anything, but it may or may not be the only one of the series.
Don't get excited.
Sorry to the Throwback Thursday, recorded on a Thursday, posted on a Monday, enjoyers. We're gonna be switching it up. We're continuing along here with the Black Veil Bride's discography, continuing right along into their 2011 record, Set the World on Fire. Last week we chatted about their 2010 record, We Stitch These Wounds, and then they followed up a year later with their major label debut, because that first record, the debut record, catapulted them. That record exploded. As I said in that review, big Black Veil Brides fan. That record got me into the band, We Stitch These Wounds. Knives and Pens, found it on YouTube at one point. And, you know, little angsty me thought that was the coolest shit of all time. That song is still pretty fucking cool, I can't lie. And, you know, I spent a lot of time with that record. I spent a lot of time with a handful of albums in their discography. I'm going to be honest with you. This record, Set the World on Fire, is one of those albums that I did not spend a lot of time with. I knew the singles. I've heard the singles a million times. They've played them live. I've seen them play it, yada, yada, yada. But I didn't listen to this record, and if I'm being honest, it's the cover art. I'm not a fan of the cover art. The cover art makes them look like an 80s hair metal band. I'm not a fan of 80s hair metal. And I think that's like the overarching, I mean, that is what the band looks like aesthetically, for a large majority of their career, but they never really sonically sound like that. They just sound like a hard rock band. But there was something about this cover art that threw me off, not to mention it does look a little cringy and definitely a product of its time. That's very 2011 right there. The fire effects and everything. It's very 2011. But yeah, the cover art threw me off, so I just never really listened to this record. I listened to it once or twice. It really didn't resonate with me. You know, because I was tracking all of my listening on Last FM by the time I had found this band, so I went back and looked. I have a fraction of the plays I have on the first record. You know, so really this is like the first time I was genuinely listening to the record. Was also the time I'm trying to form an opinion on it. And you know, I think it's okay. I think it's a step in a different direction from the first record. I think the first record, you know, the grit and the grime partly came from the production, but I do think that those songs have a lot of angst in them, and this record, obviously the production's a lot cleaner. Like I said, it's major label debut, so there's they go from no budget to huge budget, so it obviously comes through in the production. The production's way cleaner, but the band like loses some of the edge also in the songwriting, and
which already wasn't great.
Yes, and I think that's where the band kind of excels, is with a little bit of edge, a little bit of angst that sometimes comes off as a little cringe, but like since they're not an ultra heavy band, relying a little bit on like the overall angst and grit behind just like the way the lyrics are delivered, kind of levels it up in a sense, and sets it apart from a large majority of the bands that they are influenced by and coming up with at the same time in that like hard rock, loosely metalcore space. You know, I like the singles. Rebel Love Song is honestly a favorite Black Veil Bride song of mine. I spent a lot of time listening to that song in particular. There was a time in my life around the time that I was getting into this band and Sleep with Sirens and Pierce the Veil where I would sit right over there and watch, not in that chair though, that's new. I would watch the music videos of the big songs from those bands at the time, and you know, I spent a lot of time watching the King for a Day music video, Knives and Pens, and then the Rebel Love Song music video I spent a lot of time listening to. I've listened to that song probably as many times as I have tracked listening to this record on Spotify. I really do like that song. And then a couple other tracks which I believe were singles, Fallen Angels and The Legacy, those are songs that I've seen them play live. I think those songs are a leg up on the rest of the record. A lot of the record to me kind of feels a lot of samey. The singles are the standout points on the record. And that I like largely in part, I think this record's just fine, especially coming off the back of what was such a interesting record and for its time and different. There's a reason why that record exploded. Coming off the back of that album with this, it's just nowhere near as strong. There's a reason why there's not a lot of picks off this album when they're putting the set list together. And it's just a lot of the same. I think New Religion, the opening track, grew on me. I listened to this record multiple times going into this, because this wasn't like a one listen to refresh. Like I said, I really didn't listen to this record a ton, so I needed to formulate an opinion on it. That song grew on me, but initially I was like, this song sucks. It grew on me a little bit. I think it sets the tone well for the record. It's a nice opening track, but again, it is largely in part just fine. Which sucks to say, but that's kind of just what I feel about this album. It's fine. The standout tracks are the ones that are streamed the most, the singles off the record, and that's where I'm at. I really don't have much else to say about the album.
Yeah, I don't have much to say either. I think you summed it up perfectly. The record is just fine. What I am picking up is that they are kind of getting their own sound finally with this record. It's starting to sound, which is crazy. 2 albums in, they're fine. They're starting to sound like what they sound like now.
Yeah.
Which is good and bad, I guess. But
I do think it gets better and a little bit more dynamic as we go further into the discography.
Maybe more dramatic.
Yeah.
It's like so true, but it's like there's heavy remnants of in this to the future shit. I do like the opener, New Religion, but for me it kind of just grays out from there for me. It all just roughly sounds the same. I think the singles are fine. They do stand out more than the other ones where it's like, okay, I haven't heard these before, but it's like I can see why they're the big ones. Die For You, the fuck was that? It's like they turned into like a pop punk band for a second, and it kind of scared me a little bit because it wasn't awful.
I was gonna say, I think that was one of like the only non-single tracks where I was like, this isn't terrible, but like the non-singles in like typical 2011 major label release, those songs had a heavy emphasis. They're just larger sounding because they obviously have to grab people's attention and make them buy the CD somehow. This was honestly like right before streaming this record.
It's just okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't really tell you much about this record. I listened to it 1.5 times. I gave up on the second half because I was like, I'm getting nothing really. This record just kind of grayed out for me. It really didn't. I feel like it helped them align with kind of where they're going, because the first record to me just sounded like an Avenged Sevenfold ripoff 1-to-1. It didn't really add much to the genre for me, but this one is starting to kind of present itself as their own influence is starting to impact the genre. They're finally getting their own little pizzazz in it. I got nothing from that other than they might be a good pop punk band. Because Die For You, I was like, this shit's corny as fuck, but like it sounds good. It fits them. I liked Andy. Also, Andy's voice sounds much, obviously in the earlier stuff, sounds much less, how he gets like, in the end, he sounds normal in these. He sounds like a normal little guy, but then he gets all like
I almost feel like part of that in the vocal performance live is just playing that song so much he's got to vocally deliver it differently.
He's got to just be different, because everyone's heard it.
Because live it is so over exaggerated. It's hilarious.
It is. Because dude, you've seen him like 20 times.
Way too many times.
Yeah. So it's like I don't know them, but I know that song word for word. And honestly,
it's fire.
That might be my favorite Black Veil Bride song because it fucks. I really like it. So yeah.
Yeah, these are our thoughts on their 2011 record, Set the World on Fire. It's largely just fine. It's not offensive to the years, but it doesn't really move the needle for our opinions on the band either way. And I don't feel so bad that I like ignored this record while I was getting into them, because listening to it now, I'm like, I don't think that this would have resonated with angsty teen me either, because it lacks that as well. It's just very much like middle of the road, like trying to break out of that and like go mass appeal is kind of what this record was going for. And I think it fell flat, because they obviously just lean back into that later on in their career, which is honestly what I'm here for when I'm listening to Black Veil Brides. I want the angst and a little bit of cringe that comes with that. But yeah,
they get the pass.
We're gonna be continuing right along here with their discography. We've got a few more records left. You can subscribe to us here on YouTube. It helps a ton. It's the only place you can watch these throwback reviews. You can follow us on Instagram, it's Good Noise Podcast. Facebook is Good Noise Pod. TikTok is Good Noise Podcast. All your streaming services are all Good Noise Podcast, and Patreon is patreon.com/Good Noise Podcast. Other than that, I have been Shane.
I have been Glory,
and we've been the Good Noise Podcast. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.